Welcome to the next International Radio Festival panel. It's called the Resurgence of Curation, how new radio is changing how we discover bands. And we have amazing speakers here. We had some last-minute changes, unfortunately, but we managed to find great substitutes. So let's start with Michael Krause. He is the managing director of Deezer in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. And before joining Deezer in June 2014 to take over the lead of the GSA region, Michael was managing director of the Pro7 Sat.1 owned Magic Internet GmbH. Amongst others, he was responsible for the relaunch of Germany's largest AVOD website, myvideo.de. Is it AVOD? Or, yeah. Okay, ad-funded. And co-founder of the Ampere music brand and streaming service. He closed large partnerships with Vodafone, for example, and helped to build up Ampere to become one of the best-known music brands in Germany. Okay, so that's Michael. Next one is Dan Formless. He's here for Lorena from Rdio because she couldn't make it. So she will be here later on, but unfortunately the plane was delayed, so yeah. And maybe you just introduce yourself shortly, because I don't have a bio.
Yeah, I'm from Hoxton FM, which is an independent radio station based in East London. Yeah.
Okay. So next one, the moderator of the panel is Sam Moy. Sam Moy is the editor of BBB6 Music, which is an interactive digital radio station that celebrates the alternative spirit of music and culture, bringing together the cutting-edge music of today and the iconic and groundbreaking sounds of the past 50 years. At 6 Music, Sam edits a key show on the network, Steve Lamacq, as well as other programs which have new music curation at their core. 6 Music recommends Tom Robinson and his Introducing Mixtape. Sam also led collaborations between BBC4 TV and 6 Music on the sound of style, the point where music and fashion meet. Sam also curated the 6 Music peer lecture delivered by Charlotte Church, where she examined the roles and images available and assigned to women in pop music. She does a lot of other things, but yeah, she might explain later on. And then we have Stephen O'Reilly. Stephen is an Irishman working in music streaming tech. He's based in London. Stephen is named as one of the top 40 Irish technology and art startup leaders under 40. Stephen heads up sales and marketing globally for Gramofon, a listen-to-music streaming service on your stereo or home sound system. Stephen is a former mobile roadie and Topspin Media executive, and most recently served as Chief Marketing Officer at curated music streaming services Shuffle FM and Pause FM. Okay. And last but not least is Michael Bertko. Michael joined Crowd Radio, one of the most innovative companies for the mobile radio business in Germany, as a thought leader for increasing the brand awareness and go-to-market strategy. As a seasoned veteran in digital business, data analytics, and mobile apps, he is responsible for driving sales, business development, and customer success at Crowd Radio. Prior to Crowd Radio, Michael built and led teams for fast-growing startups and technology companies in the big data and analytic markets. So now you know everyone on the panel, except me. I'm Katja from Sound Diplomacy. I'm the managing director of the German office. And we supported IIF with setting up this international part of the conference. So yeah, have fun.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. So to remind you, this panel is called The Resurgence of Curation, how new radio is changing how we discover bands. So could I ask each of you to give us a quick intro of each of your services and what is different about it? Michael.
Okay, so our service is Deezer. Deezer is live in 182 countries. We're the second largest music streaming service also in terms of users. So officially we have still 6 million users. Using the premium service. We have an ad-funded service where you can basically listen to our over 35 million tracks on an ad-funded base, so without directly paying. And then we have a $9.99 paid model where you can download and use everything on demand, also on mobile. And we also launched a service called Deezer Elite, which is then lossless audio streaming and currently exclusively available on Sonos devices. And our service is different since we've launched 2007 already. So been on the market quite a while, made a lot of experiences, and adapted the service to the customer needs. And our main USP since years already is that we not only have all this content on demand, but we also have editors who, together with our smart algorithms, provide the best content experience and the best content recognition for our customers. And of course, I mean, we have the largest catalog. We are on most of devices, so a lot of superlatives that I could continue with. But I guess the main differentiation point is that on Deezer, everything will be personally made for the user. So there's not like a duplicate. Usually, there's not like a duplicate view on the service. It's all unique for the user and tailor-made for each of our customers.
So we're the small guys. Hoxton FM is just an independent radio station based in East London. Started about 4 years ago. We're up to about 15,000 listeners every month. And everyone who's on the station is just sharing what inspires them. So it's music, art, fashion, culture. We're not trying to play popular music. We're trying to find the next generation, trying to bring them in. I think the thing that's unique about us is every one of our DJs is a curator. They're all finding new music. They're generally reluctant to speak, but they're just sharing what they're passionate about. So there's no playlists on our station. We're just totally picking what we love.
Stephen?
Hi, my name is Stephen O'Reilly. My previous companies that I've worked for was Shuffler FM and Pause FM. What we're working on involved we had an approach of like how is editorial and writing and trusted sources like the emerging voices on the web, how can we turn those destinations into radio stations? So we created two apps. One is called Shuffler FM, and that turns tastemaker websites like Guardian, Pitchfork, NME, Fader into a station that you can play, download the app and play your favorite stations and discover new music. And as well as being able to play those stations, you can read more and dive deeper into the artist. So there's a whole editorial element because we're big on editorial and learning more about those bands and those artists that you discover. All of the whole context and validation stuff is important to us. Like when you bought a record and you read the sleeve notes and stuff, that we kind of lose some of that now with some of the music streaming services. We have another product called Pause, which is a quarterly curated music magazine. When I say magazine, it's an iPhone app that you can read in a magazine style. But we curate stories that have been posted on those sites and curate them into a monthly magazine that you can download, read, share with your friends, and also stream the music that you're listening to and learning about. We just felt that there was so many websites. There's a problem like that we found on Shuffler. There's so much content being written about every day on the web. How can you distill all of that or find the best of the best and cherry pick the important things that people might miss into a monthly edition? And that's Pause FM. Both of those apps are free to download and check out. And today I head up a company called Gramofon, and this is a little black box that you connect to your stereo or sound system, and you can easily, it's compatible with a number of music streaming services and mobile apps. So if you have the Spotify app, for example, on your phone, you open the Spotify app and you can easily play music on your stereo, your old sound system in stereo. We had this simple idea that it's sometimes quite difficult to play your Deezer or your Spotify on your stereo, and this was the box that we created. It's a €60 device. It's been very well received, and we launched it over a year ago on Kickstarter. We raised $300,000 to validate this idea, and we've gone on to sell a huge amount of them in the last year. And what's interesting about this box is, and from talking to streaming services that we work with, is people that have devices like this in the home listen listen to 20% more radio and 20% more streaming services. They consume more data or more content because it's very easy. So that's kind of one of the things I'm probably going to talk about today as well.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
Thank you. Yeah, Crowd Radio is a social publishing mobile app platform for radio station. We are a startup in Germany, based in Germany, just a young startup with 12 people we are right now. And our main purpose is to bring new ideas to the radio stations. That means with our app, it's a white label app in a software as a service business model. We bring the opportunity to the radio stations to work with user-generated content, to work with the own content they are generating in the editorial teams or in the content they are purchasing from any other networks. They can bring this on the app simultaneously in multi-channels. That means push content in the app, on the website, in the social networks. And the beauty of the thing is you can jump back from the social networks into the app, into the social platforms from the radio station networks. So we give the opportunity to be a big player in the radio network at all, and we give the radio stations the opportunity to grow their own user network and their own user digital. I'm sorry, I lost the. So you can transform your listeners you have usually through the digital networks. That means you can generate users from listeners and to grow up your own network. This is the point. This is our main approach for the mobile platform Crowd Radio.
Thank you. And a quick word about Six Music. So BBC Radio 6 Music is one of the BBC's radio stations. We have over 2 million listeners. And we celebrate the alternative spirit. So we play alternative music from the 60s right through to now. And how we support new music is we have a playlist and we also partner with BBC Introducing, which I'll probably come on to a little bit later. So can I ask each of you, what do you provide to discover new bands on your services? Michael from Deezer.
Yeah, sure. So all our product basically, and if you look at the start page, you will already see that, is centered around discovering new music, but music you want to hear. It's not like we're having a teaser space like on the old services where you could buy the space and then promote your band and everyone will see the same teaser. It's all like personalized, as I said before. So we have a music feed, which is partly built from algorithms and then added with a human touch of all our editors. And those editors are basically also the tipping point for new music. So we have over 60 editors, both with a geographical focus. So for example, in Berlin we have an editor, in Vienna we have an editor. We're also currently looking for an editor in Switzerland. And they have the regional focus to see, okay, what's really relevant in all those markets. And then we have the genre editors. So we have own editors for heavy metal, for alternative country, for like all the different niches. And they speak to the specialized music labels and see what's up, what's new there. And if they find great content, then they will recommend and put it in the feed of those users who listen to similar content. And that's basically a key differentiator and a way to discover new music, because you will also find stuff that usually algorithms wouldn't find. Like, for example, if your favorite band singer has a new project and it's totally different music, but still you would probably like it because you like the band and you want to see what the individuals are doing, then the algorithm would usually not find it, but an editor, of course, can recommend you that music. And apart from that, we have a lot of initiatives to support new music or also upcoming artists. We, for example, did a cooperation with the Medium Artist Accelerator program. We have an own app within Deezer called Young Guns, where we support unsigned artists and give them an audience worldwide, basically. We're currently organizing a new rap how do you call it? I mean, it's a newcomer competition for rap artists from Berlin that we do together with Universal Music. and the winner will get a contract there, and of course a lot of exposure on Deezer, including TV advertisements and stuff. So yeah, we do a lot both in the service but also outside of the service to promote new content and let people discover new artists, but also to support new artists.
So basically everyone on our station is a curator. They're all DJs or they're going to gigs all the time, and they're just finding music that they love. I think on other levels we have a lot of volunteers working for us, and they might be studying at places like the School of Audio Engineering, and they're making music at the same time. They're using some of our studios, and then they're using our airwaves to air their music, test it out, see what the reaction is. And I think because we're so kind of low level, people will push things further. They'll gain confidence from being aired on Hoxton FM, and then they'll take the next step. And often we get PRs approaching our presenters and trying to break new bands through us, because if other radio stations have seen that we've aired something, then they tend to pick up on it and it kind of flows through. So an example of that is, I think there's a band called Jungle. The second interview they ever did was with one of our presenters, and they've kind of gone on and just kind of blown up recently. So, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, so on the discovery side of things, with Shuffler and Pause, we just tried to be highly differentiated to all of the existing streaming services and do something different and focus on editorial and trusted sources and the emerging, or the folks on the web that we think are very interesting curators. So how do you turn Dummy Mag into a radio station that you listen to, or Fader magazine? So as well as being able to discover, because with Gramofon, or with Pause and with Shuffler, we know what the web is talking about right now, and we can surface that and put it at the front for fans. You know, music that's kind of breaking on SoundCloud or on YouTube ends up on those blogs, and we immediately feature them, and eventually they find their way to radio. So that's one of the things that we kind of see that we've done a bit differently. And how do you make editorial and writing and journalism important in the music streaming service process? It's just so important to us. So that's our USP, or our focus, or our passion, I guess.
Yeah, what I'm missing in this arguments everywhere is the curated content for you guys here, the radio stations on the Swiss Radio Day. The point is, everybody, Mike is talking about algorithm, about playlists which based on algorithms. Radio is made by people for people, so just not mainly, but I think most of your
algorithms, and then 40% comes from the editors. So it's not like mainly.
Okay. So that are another numbers. Yeah, good. So my part is to talk about. I was invited to bring the mobile view here on the discussion. So a little bit how can you solve the situation to explore new bands. I will give you a quick insight how we do this with Crowd Radio, with the mobile app as the platform. Our radio stations which are using Crowd Radio, they just called their audience, their customers, their users. Hey, just send us your colleagues, or not colleagues, send us songs from your friends and from everywhere. You know, one band, new talent, send us their song to our radio station. We have a musical editorial team. It's crowdsourcing. Yeah, the crowd, right? This is the name, the base of the name from Crowd Radio. So, tell us something about new talents. We will curate this content. Let us an audio file or a video, or just a quick short spot about the band or the talent, and we will curate this content, and then we will give this back to the community and ask the community, hey, do you think is it a good song? Do you love this song? Do you like this song, or not? Bring back this feedback, and work with this feedback to bring the band which is most liked back to the community, and let us organize a quick event, just an small concert, an in-house station concert or something else.
It's also, I guess, a great way to be able to engage your audience inside your own platform, like
exactly
inside your own app as well. Like a lot of websites and folks are focusing on, tell us on Twitter, what you think about this, and you're sending people away all the time instead of bringing them into your world where you can not control them, but like have, like engage them in a more meaningful way, and instead of like conducting stuff on Facebook and Twitter and other social networks, it could be in your app. I think that's an interesting point that you make. Everyone is focused on building their Facebook page. Then when you want to, I manage bands, and when we do a Facebook post, we have 10,000 fans, but nobody sees it unless you pay. So like, if you can grow your own ecosystem or your own fan base and know how to reach them, it's important.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay. I just want to go back to something you touched on, Michael, about algorithms. Apple obviously has launched Beats One, and there are curators, there are DJs on there that are putting together playlists. Not least Zane Lowe, who used to be on Radio 1. Are we moving in the streaming world more towards having curators and DJs shaping what we listen to?
No,
is the algorithm dead, Michael? That's what I'm asking?
No, I wouldn't say so. It's still useful, also to support editors, by the way, and also regarding the feedback of the users. That's what we also think is very important. So in the first phase, we got the feedback from the listening behavior. So if someone listened the track to the end, of course, it was maybe a sign that he liked it. If he kind of quit it or skipped it, then we took the feedback that he didn't like. And now we also introduced the heart and the crossed heart. So you can also give direct feedback on each song that we present to you. So there is this user engagement also in Deezer, which we think is important. So I definitely support that point. Is the algorithm dead? I think it's still, as I said, useful in a combination because a lot of things, and especially if you go into really personalized for like millions of users, then of course an editor is helpful to bring up new things, but it's like a combination that for us is most powerful. And we're not moving into this linear radio world, which you're referring to with the other station.
Yeah, I kind of was anti-algorithms for a long time, and then one thing that made me change my mind in the past few weeks was Spotify started this weekly playlist on a Monday. It tells you it delivers you a playlist every Monday, and all of my mates on social networks were talking about it, and saying, "Wow, this playlist knows me, it understands me." And I always hated that kind of stuff, like algorithms. I just thought it was bullshit. But the Spotify weekly curated playlist, that's kind of that is an algorithm, seems to be making a lot of noise in the business, and it's still very early days.
I mean, algorithm sounds so technical and so cold and so on. But it's basically looking at what people are doing and what other people are listening to that listen to the same tracks. So stuff that is really like also personal, and it's not like
it's a terrible word.
Cold and terrible technically. I mean, it sounds like this from the word already, algorithm, but it's the rhythm. It's more like a musical thing in there, the rhythm. It's definitely true, and also I mean, looking at what people shared or did on Facebook. I mean, if you take all of this into account and put this into, then it's kind of supporting the editor and also the experience, and it's not like only a technical cold world where you only have certain algorithms based on the frequency of the songs and stuff like that. It's much more. So you do it right.
And on the subject of like Beats and Apple, I worked with a lot of the guys that built the new Apple Music service. We had a business many years ago, and their whole approach was like being fans of, like, obviously it's a streaming service, but they're huge radio fans. And Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails, it was one of his ideas, is like, why don't we just build a worldwide radio station? Who are your favorite DJs? And it was his idea to go and bring those, poach Zane from the BBC and bring in all these other, New York-based, SF-based DJs they actually executed it. They built a global radio station from scratch. It will be successful because it's Apple. Because they've 800 million people using their iPhones, and it's on your front page.
Is it 11 million people are on Beats?
I think that was the official numbers, but it's the love of radio that made them create that. It's a streaming service, but it's a radio station as well. So it's a kind of convergence of both, and that's.
Is that the sweet spot, though?
I think it's where it's moving.
Sweet spot. We've never used algorithms, and my thing is that if a DJ plays a whole set to me for an hour, I might not like all of the music that they play. It might be the first time I've heard a lot of it. The next time I hear it, I might like some of it more. And I think there's that whole thing of often if you go and find music yourself, you might listen to it, say, on a particular site and not like it, but you hear it somewhere else, you hear someone else playing, it builds your kind of interest in that artist or that band. So I just think I would never turn away from algorithms or anything, but I think there's a whole load of sheep that want to follow stuff, and if they're told you do that, there's also people who are tastemakers who are trying to find the next new thing, the exciting thing, or rediscover something, and that's really important to keep that alive.
Like beats, like tastemakers. The first song that they played when Zayn launched the show was an unsigned band in Manchester. They had it was the first track that they played. Spring King, yeah. So
Steve Lamacq took them to South by Southwest in March from
exactly.
Radio 6 Music.
And I as soon as I heard this, this is the first track, I went and found the band on Facebook. They had 2,000 fans. Then they got signed the next week I think they signed a label deal within 2 weeks, if I'm correct. And I just thought that was an interesting start. Zayn going back to his roots as, someone that was championing unheard of bands and unheard of, it was a nice start, I thought, for, yeah.
But maybe it's also about talk elements. I think one reason why radio is also still and will be very successful is that it's a mixture of talk and music. I mean, this is what led us to take over the Stitcher podcast aggregation platform and launch also talk elements in Deezer. And currently we're talking, it's already launched in the US, UK, Sweden and France. And currently we're extending that also to the German-speaking area and speak to a lot of radio stations to see if they're interested to bring in their talk elements also on Deezer, reaching younger fan groups, which they may have lost already because they're not listening to radio that much, or to also to enhance their reach to the audience that we have and that might rediscover their stations also then on the regular broadcast. So we also believe that talk, and this can be interviews with artists, it can be specialized content. Specialized content on all niche or general interest topics, news and so on. I think that's really a key differentiator, and that's what also Deezer is believing is very useful and valuable to the customer. This is why we've launched also talk elements and go more this route that anyone can decide what they want to hear also on the talk side.
We've got 15 minutes left, and I want to get onto the subject of where the future of radio is going to be. Norway will be the first country to switch off FM radio in 2017. Will radio end as we know it? Big question, I know.
So we're called Hoxton FM, and we never broadcast on FM. The joke was it just stood for forward movement. I think that the technology's there to just... Everyone's got a mobile phone. You can listen in on a mobile phone. People are always in front of computers. We all know why they're switching off FM. It's just to sell it off, isn't it, for the 5G and 6G and all these things. They can make a lot more money out of it. Having said all of that...
Haven't announced switch off yet, though, I don't think, in the UK.
They're pushing it.
Pushing it back.
Having said all that, there was a freedom about the pirate stations on FM and things like that, and I don't quite know how you're going to shut them down because they live on. They always live on. I don't know how important it is really. There's is there any station that's only FM now? They all have an internet presence as well, don't they? So is it pulling the rug from under anyone, really, switching it off? I don't know.
I don't know either. Do you?
I guess there is a convergence, so it's not many people, not as many people, listen to BBC Radio 6. Your station is not on
we're
the
not
FM
an FM
dial.
We're a digital radio station.
Most people probably think it is, but it's just it's what's where do you consume it? Is it on your laptop, your phone, or whatever?
Or the internet.
People don't care,
The other thing is listening figures are just, you can't get away from them now. You can't make them up. You can't go to Radar and say, can you extrapolate that we have so many million listeners? And I think Radio 1's fallen really foul of that, in that they're just, their figures are there for everyone to see now.
They always have been.
Yeah, but it's radar, isn't it? Just
it's
making
radar.
the numbers up, extrapolating.
It's a diary system that we all have to work
I
with.
don't.
No, you don't know. We do.
On the subject, like one of the great things that you guys do with like the mobile phone apps, it gives radio stations an opportunity to understand who their audience is and who their listeners are. You can learn, like, these phones are computers in your pocket, so the radio it's technically possible to understand who that person is, where they live, when they listen to your music, what they listen to. How can you like super serve them with content relevant, ads, audio, video, visual, photos, tailored to that person. So it's more it's a huge opportunity, is my point, is the whole mobile an app, an opportunity for traditional FM radio stations.
Stephen, thank you. Exactly. That's the point. Radio, the bandwidth, how you can radio do in the future, and this would be scale more and more. You get more opportunities to bring radio to your listeners, to the users. So this is exactly the point. So radio will die in Norway as the first country in the EU on the FM channel. But it gives the opportunity to bring this content on another channel. So on many other channels. Nobody knows which one as, but we are step by step in the way to the future. That means. And mobile is one of the important part of that.
I mean, I think the exciting thing is I would never have set up a radio station if I had to put antennas up and all this stuff that the pirates did. I realised that I could just have a computer, access to a server through the internet, and a sound card, and I could just be going straight away. Do I think that there are going to be lots more people doing that? Yes, I do. There's a lot of stations starting up in London, and there's so much talent out there, and I think it's all about encouraging people to do it themselves. So all this DIY radio, you can use a service called Mixler, mixlr.com, and you could be broadcasting in 2-3 minutes yourselves. I think that's the way it's going to go. There's this huge dilution, lots more stations. Everyone can do it. Maybe everyone's then chasing listeners. We've never really chased listeners. We're all about giving the talent a first step, and the listeners have kind of followed. I think the other interesting point is how you monetize as a station. So, you've got kind of the big boys on the edge here, and we're small. We stay independent. We're not advertising. We've never sold advertising. We've got our first sponsor who's allowed to say that they work with us, and that's all they're allowed to do. I think that the more intelligent the monetization is, and not just spamming people with loads of adverts and kind of forcing stuff down their throat, like you were saying about how you get a full understanding of the listenership because of the technology. And you'd never be able to do that if you were on FM.
Yeah. To your point on the monetization, it kind of goes both ways as well. For radio stations to monetize based on knowledge and understanding of their audience, but then as someone who manages artists myself, there's opportunities for you to put offers and buy links and tickets and merchandise in front of fans at the point of consumption. So like as they listen, like just because Beats launched 2 months ago, as an example, they had this thing called Connect inside the app, and like you can, as you listen to music, you can press the Connect button and see like what offers are available from that band.
Yeah,
can you buy tickets to a show? Can you buy a box set? Can you give your email address? All those kind of things are massive opportunities to put things in front of fans at the point of discovery. Who is that band? When are they playing in London? All technically possible now through mobile.
And I think that puts the power back in the hands of the radio stations. The reason we never sold advertising was because we didn't want to be slaves to the advertiser, have them tapping on our shoulder. How many listeners? What's the response rate? And essentially, traditional old marketing is kind of making it all up. It's going, oh, there's an engagement, there's this, and you're getting brand awareness. And now there's all these measurables, all this higher level engagement. And I know a lot of stations don't have the luxury that we have because we're staying small and we're supporting ourselves. And so, Radio 6, you had that little bump in the road, but you're essentially funded by the taxpayer.
Funded by the licence fee payer, yes.
Yeah, so I think that's a great thing. I think it's a great thing for curation that people sort of stepped up and said, don't shut Radio 6 down.
Don't shut Six Music down. And we are part of the BBC Public Service Broadcasting Corporation, and we are funded by the licence fee. So our audience, the UK audience, they're our shareholders. And, you know, they wished that they wanted us to be around.
That was what I was trying to lead her on to.
Well, I wasn't at Six Music when it was saved. But Six Music is a digital station. It was launched in 2002. And around 2010, the BBC was going through delivering quality first and looking at the amount of services that it was being offered. And Six Music was... that's one way of putting it. But the trust, which represents the licence fee payers, wanted the BBC to demonstrate a case for whether it should be closed or not, and invited the public to contribute to that debate, which they did. And around the time of sort of social media really becoming engaged, there was, you know, demonstrations. There was Save Six Music, down with this sort of thing. And the Trust responded to that and said the BBC didn't demonstrate a case for closing Six Music, and it was saved. So we, I think, doubled our audience figures pretty much within a year. So we're now 2 million listeners. So yes, that's the story of Six.
And also, like, BBC Six Music is an amazing platform for younger bands that won't generally get played on BBC Radio 1 or unless it's on a niche show. But BBC Six has been hugely influential in breaking smaller bands and getting them into other stations, you know.
Yeah, and building albums too.
Yeah, they've had a huge role.
But Radio 1 does too.
I know, but,
but you've got more online listeners than them, haven't you?
I'm not sure that is the case, no.
What were you saying before? You were saying about the amount...
Well, in terms of platform, where people listen to us, we are the most listened to radio station on the internet, I believe, around 24%. I think on our last radio, our figures might be 23. I have to check my stat book.
Awesome. Maybe coming quickly to your question as well that you raised before that, isn't it about like producing great content and then having a channel to distribute it? I mean, if it's FM, if it's DAB, or if it's like, if it's like through streaming, it's about the listening time and the attention, and yeah, of course, the users that like your station or like your app or like your Facebook site.
If they like what you do,
app. So,
I think Stephen said it earlier, they will come and find you, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, the paradigmal shift in terms of going more and more digital could be, first of all, to reach your audience on various ways, like, for example, cooperating with a streaming service and reach your audience there, or to cooperate with the other new ventures that come up and see where we can get traction, so where we can find audience. And the other thing is, of course, this KPI thing, because if it's more and more digital, then the KPIs is also... Sorry for being so technical, but the feedback from the users is more direct, and if you're of course dependent on advertised fundaments, then this could also be a shift in the way that you work with advertisers, because they will also then probably pay more performance based. But that can only be good for the program, right? Because I mean, if the program then, I mean, of course, it's mixed, but I think in general it's an interesting shift of the overall landscape that is more fast in some countries, a bit slow in other countries. But is going more digital, but still having a variety of sources like radio stations and different services, and that's more choice for the user in the end. And
paid for models as well. So you've got, you know, Spotify. Yeah. I mean, maybe we're all going to start paying for radio.
Yeah, TuneIn. You know that radio app TuneIn. They launched a premium version, £60 a month. I have no clue what it does, but they turned on a premium version yesterday.
Premium TuneIn, you can record.
No. It's a big press announcement yesterday. It's completely new, so be interested to see what they do. Sorry.
We have 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions for anyone on the panel? Hello. I think Katja's going to run to you. Please introduce yourself before you ask a question.
Hello, my name is Justus Fischer. I'm consulting radio stations musically in Central Europe, and I got a question concerning this algorithm, because this comes always in when we talk about Spotify. and Deezer. I tried them all, and we at the commercial radio stations, we work with algorithms too, in a different way. My problem is that all these algorithms at Spotify and Deezer, I think they don't work. So I tried it from my perspective of a music lover, but also from the commercial view as a radio listener. And well, try to make a radio station and to ban, for example, 90s dance that you don't like. At none of all these streaming services, this does not work. So can you tell, you don't have to tell us all these secrets, but can you tell us more what happens behind these algorithms? Because in my experience, they don't work.
Yeah, as I said, it is a mixture, especially on Deezer, probably a bit different to Spotify, but on Deezer we have this mixture of editors and algorithms. And of course you have to, I mean, that's probably a downside, but you have to use the service for some while so it learns about your listening behavior. And then also to give some feedback. So that's what we also introduce, like say if you like it or if you don't like it. And then of course the algorithms get smarter and recognize if you hear this music more in the morning and this more in the evening. I mean, it's sad to hear that it didn't work for you. We have a lot of very very satisfied users. So it's.
My problem is I don't believe that. And I did this musically, you know, I always get the same things I don't want to hear. And when I say I don't want to hear gangster hip-hop in my stream, I press 1,000 times, don't play me NWA and Dr. Dre again, but I get it again and again and again. So for me, this is a little bit useless, and I want to know what is really happening behind.
I think it might be another time for another question now. We've got 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Because you're mentioning Dre, but...
Anyone else from the room?
Look into the Apple App Store.
Oh, you've... Okay, time.
I have a question for all of us, I guess. I was just thinking about it earlier, like we're kind of infatuated with numbers and plays and stuff, which is... And knowing so much can also be bad, you know, like... It doesn't leave the opportunities for great DJs to play great music, or you know, to launch new bands and like discover things. Like at the BBC, there's a lot of meetings around like how many Shazams did that track get, how many plays on SoundCloud and YouTube. So like I still, you know, so people like DJs, some of them have to get consensus from within a panel of people. Sometimes I think we've gone a bit crazy on stats sometimes.
I think DIY radio pushes those sort of buttons, and you've got a lot of people who are just ignoring all the numbers, like ourselves. And I don't know, I think the big guys, they realise they have to just give the DJs a freer rein.
I think some stations might run like that. I think they might look at Shazam and they might look at, yeah, and absolutely in YouTube plays, but instinctively you've got a room full of specialist producers there that are listening to music, that know the station and are doing the filtering. And certainly at Six Music we have a playlist, you know, and that is done on like, is this going to suit the feel and mood and tone and the alternative spirit of the radio station? That is what the filter is going through. And then those records will make the playlist, which inform our daytime shows. But within that and around that, our DJs do have the freedom to pick any music from 60s right through to now. Thank God. Well, we're fifth. Oh, hello, Mark. Hi, how are you?
Don't give him the mic.
You've got 10 seconds. 9,
Oh, really?
5.
Okay. As this is about discovering new music, and this panel was, I would like to ask you all individually, what is your favourite new band and why?
Okay, let me just see what my favorite last new band I discovered is. It's actually Fela. This is a German artist that I just discovered on our service. It's a new artist that is kind of singer-songwriter and has very good lyrics and also fits very well to the summer spirit that we just had in terms of temperatures. So it was perfect tune, perfect album.
Guy called Cooks. He's a producer based in London, and he's a hairdresser by day. It's just called Cooks.
I like Soak. Have you heard of Soak? She's just wonderful. Big fan.
New band, brand new, Bellevue Days from Croydon in London. They're the new band that I discovered via Alex Baker at Kerrang Radio. He was championing that band when nobody else heard of them. Yeah, rock band, great songwriting. So Bellevue Days.
I'm sorry, it's not a new band, but it's a band with their second album. It's Boy, actually. They launched the second album, Boy, everybody knows. The two girls. No? Then it's a new band for everybody, yeah, okay? So, it's consensus, great. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, everyone. I think that's the end of our panel. Thank you, Katya, for inviting us. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank me.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you.